Week 3 of college football is in the books, and it's time for draft scenarios. Time to recap it. Why is Michael Penix the best fit for the Atlanta Falcons? We'll tell you next on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on Twitter at DP_NFL. I'm a national scout with the Draft Network, as well as the host of the Locked On Clemson Football Podcast. Guys, happy Monday, and thank y'all for joining us. As always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Thank you for being our everydayers, man. But of course, I can't talk football without my guy. The champ is here. As always, my guy, Keith Sanchez. You can find and follow him on Twitter at The Talent Code. Keep talking to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? This is Keith Sanchez, Senior Draft Analyst with the Draft Network, man, in 2019 National Champ with those LSU Tigers, man. But you know why we're here, right? Myself, DP, Damian Parsons. We are here to bring you that championship-level content surrounding the NFL Draft 24/7, 365. This is where you get the nonstop conversation around the NFL Draft, the best football podcast there is out there, man. But DP, it's Monday morning, and Monday morning, this is quickly becoming my favorite day, right? Because we get the reactions, and we like to do, man. We're combining college football, a little bit of NFL football together to get you, to bring you the NFL Draft podcast, man, from Locked On. So DP, our scenarios up to date, man. We're going to do our draft scenarios, which we did last week. I really enjoyed it. We're going to continue to do that. Then we're going stock up, stock down, a classic segment over here at Locked On. Then we're finishing that thing up. Like we said, we get to be the coaches. We are handing out game balls. DP, before we kick that off, why don't you hit them with our title sponsor?
Today's episode of Locked On NFL Draft is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Draft scenarios, ideal fits, Keith, and a guy that balled out. For those who don't know what this segment is, we look at the ballers from the previous week or the most recent week of college football, and we look at those big time performances and give you draft scenarios of where they would fit in the league. And Keith, a guy that threw for almost 480 yards, you know what I'm saying? Michael Penix Jr., 27-35, 473, 4 touchdowns, and I think what was the score? 41-7 versus Michigan State on the road. When you look at his performance and how he's played last year and even started this season, over 1,300 yards passing in 3 games, what's the ideal fit for you, in your opinion? For him,
well, DP, this segment lines up perfectly, right? Because I just did my mock draft that dropped on Sunday night over at the Draft Network. So go check that out. And DP, I had Michael Penix going to the Atlanta Falcons. And this is the thing. Michael Penix is putting up ridiculous numbers right now. He's putting up video game numbers. Those are the numbers where you're playing a video game, you put those numbers up, and then you say, all right, I wouldn't do this in real life, right? Like nobody would do this in real life because he, like at the half, DP, it was some crazy number. And we talked about it on Saturday, right? We talked about how, he was wondering, is there any shot for upset? And we was like, no. Washington is going to go ahead and put up crazy numbers. So DP, I put Michael Penix to the Atlanta Falcons. So I don't know what the Falcons are going to be picking, right? Because they won last week. Let's see if I can see him easily falling into that kind of 12 through 20 slot for the Atlanta Falcons. And the reason being is that we know that there's an injury history, right? And NFL is really weird on what they accept, what they don't accept, right? And so I expect him just to fall a little bit because of that. But the high-level passer that he is, I can see a situation where he's able to surpass Desmond Ridder and that GM, and if the head coach is Arthur Smith, right, they want to go with a high-level passer to get it to get the football to the Drake London, the Kyle Pitts, and the Bijan Robinson. So that's why I had the Michael Penix fit.
Nah, Keith, and I think that's a good fit, man. And the reason why I think it's a good fit is because of the two guys you just named. Kyle Pitts and Drake London. And it's not that no knock to Desmond Ridder, because we both like Desmond Ridder coming out of Cincinnati. But here's why I like this fit and why I think it's an ideal draft scenario. What if I said this entire offseason, the entire offseason, Keith? I'm like, I don't believe in Arthur Smith in this situation in Atlanta. So it's like, if this thing goes south, he's out of there. So it means a new coach is going to come in, and they're not going to play football like it's 1965. They're going to absolutely throw the football. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense, Keith. You draft 2 talented pass catchers in the top 10 in the last 4 years, and you want to run the ball 95% of the time. It doesn't make sense to me. It's kind of an oxymoron in terms of how you handle things. But putting Michael Penix, like the gunslinger mentality, I'm gonna tell you kind of a comp that I thought about when I'm watching him. He reminds me of a left-handed version of Geno Smith. Okay. Like legit. Like he reminds me of a left-handed version of Geno Smith. But you just see the ball placement, accuracy, arm talent. He can push the ball down the field. I like that fit, Keith. I like that fit. But Keith, I got one. I got one myself, man. The New York Jets, the
Jets
should look at, I know Aaron Rodgers, he said he's going to play in 2024. That's fine, Aaron. That's cool. You can come back and play for one more year and then let Shedeur Sanders take over the reins. Because what was one of the biggest things, Keith, that we had issues with when it came down to Zach Wilson being in New York, right? Going from Birmingham, going from BYU, right? Going from all of that small area to that big bright lights of New York City, just felt like when things go south, could he handle the pressure? And he has shown so far that he can't. Now, like, we'll see how this season goes, and maybe this changes. But for a franchise quarterback, I think Shedeur Sanders brings the poise and everything that we talked about. Like I continue to say the things that we talk about with Bryce Young, but the accuracy, the ball placement, on script, off script, on time, different off platform, all those things. But Keith, like just like I think it was this Saturday when I brought up the Tom Brady thing. I was like, he's got some Tom Brady in him. And what did he say in the post game conference? Right in the same picture, he was like, I went Brady mode. They asked him, bro, you fourth quarter, you're down 11 points. Your offense has not played up to par. Your offensive line is absolutely terrible in terms of protecting you. And no matter how many times he was hit, he was sacked 7 times last week. He just kept balling. But he on your 2-yard line, down 8, he drove them down the field, scored, then got the 2-point and won in overtime. Brady mode.
Yeah, and DP, that's not just any. And we talked about this on a Saturday on a live show. If you haven't tapped in with us, make sure y'all tap in with us on Saturday mornings at 9:30 Central Time. But pregame, right, we talked about how Shedeur, how he handled everything from a mental perspective. And I talked about watching him on ESPN. Now you got to set the scene, DP. And it's not, I don't even know what time it was, West Coast, right? I'm on Central Time. So it was 1 o'clock in the morning for me, right? But it may have been 10 o'clock, Colorado time, right? But it's 10 o'clock at night. You have a packed house. You're at home. You've done all these interviews. Your father and talked all of this trash, right? And I don't, you know what? I'm not going to say trash. They went back and forth. Him and other coach went back and forth. And your father said, my team is going to show up and they ready to rock and roll. Y'all are losing, right? And then not only that, on the sideline, you have Lil Wayne there. You have Dwayne The Rock Johnson. You have Offset. It looks like the red carpet. Yeah, literally looks like the red carpet for one of these award shows, right? Mm-hmm. All of these people on the sideline to watch y'all win, and y'all are losing. You see what I'm saying? Y'all are losing. So the amount of pressure to go in the game, and then, like you said, to tap in and be like, you know what? I'm going to go Brady mode, and Brady mode means this. I'm not missing. And that was a masterful drive, right? He decided, I'm going to tap in, I'm going to lock in, and we about to move this football down the field. So, DP, I agree with you 100% from the mental perspective. And like I always talk about quarterbacks, I get the arm strength and everything else. The mental, what is their mental, right? And Shedeur Sanders seems to be a really good fit from a mental perspective. DP, I want to wrap this segment up with my guy, LSU Tiger, man, Malik Neighbors, yes, 13, look at the screen. 13 receptions, 239 yards, 2 total touchdowns. DP, he could have went for 350, right? He went for 240. He could have went for 350. Mississippi State, I don't know what's going on down there. I have no idea. But Malik Neighbors made it his day. And I have him in a draft scenario to the Denver Broncos. And I know it's not the sexiest pick and it's not the biggest lights, right? But if Russell Wilson and Sean Payton can kind of get this thing together, when you look at their receiver core, it diminished a lot, right? When you had the KJ Hamler in his situation, and Jerry Jeudy has the hamstring, and then was that Tim Patrick, right, who tore his ACL, Achilles, but I know it's back-to-back significant injuries, right? And then Cortland Sutton is aging. They need a playmaker at the wide receiver position. That is not the same receiver core than when Russell Wilson first got there, right? So I put Malik Neighbors there because he's a good run after the catch guy. He showed he can track the football, right? And I think because we were like, okay, how is this different from last year with Keyshawn Boutte? It appears that he's going to have the numbers to back it up. Like his play is going to be consistent and allow him to keep himself sustained in that first round conversation. I don't expect it just to nosedive off and he's able to stay there. So DP, I had Malik Neighbors to the Denver Broncos just to kind of wrap it up. Something fun, right?
I like that fit.
Okay, cool. It's DP approved, so I'm good with it, right? It's DP approved, and I'm good with it. So DP, let's keep this thing going. Let's keep this thing flowing, man. Coming up next, like we said, this is a weekly. This is our thing, right? When you think a Locked On NFL draft, you think stock up, stock down. So we're going to get into some of our favorite performances, and then some of the performances that are a little bit concerning for us as draft prospects. Coming up next.
These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Guys, it's easy. Just create a free job post on LinkedIn Jobs, add the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. You will have simple tools at your disposal, like screening questions that make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skill set and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It is why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. The stock market is open, Keith. It opens up every Monday. You know what I mean? It opens up every Monday after college football. And when you look at stock up, stock down, man, and the performances after this past week, Keith, I mean, we talked about Shedeur Sanders, right? In that Colorado versus Colorado State game. I got to talk about this young man here, Tory Horton, Keith. Like, stock all the way up. This young man went out there, Keith, and he balled out of control. I think it was like 16 catches, 133 yards, and a touchdown. And it was just a variety of things that he showed, right? He showed body control, hand-eye coordination, speed. But the quick twitch ability after the catch is what I really appreciated from him because I was tweeting, especially late in that game, Colorado didn't know how to handle mesh concept to save their life. They couldn't stop the cross.
They passing it off, whether to run with it or not, whether to give it a tube alert and let it float. That was giving them all types of trouble.
No communication whatsoever between each other. It was just like, oh, I'm going to hit my landmark. Oh, this guy's running past me. All right, cool. As long as I get to my spot, that's all that matters. But this, you see him in the quick game on those crosses, catch the ball, square up a defender, and then make guys look silly with his moves after the catch to create yards, after the catch and get upfield. Man, I think this 2024 wide receiver group is really, really talented. And this is a stock. I feel like a lot of people didn't know much about him. I watched him in the summer. I was impressed with his game. And I was like, all right, I think it was Jim Nagy talked about. I think Jim Nagy was the one who said that like a lot of other Power 5 teams, bigger schools wanted this kid, and he's decided to stay at Colorado State. And Keith, that might have been a good thing for him because now he can shine in moments and shine for a team that nobody really thought had any NFL talent.
Yeah, I agree. He in DPI it was funny, right? Because last night I'm watching him, you just keep hearing Tory Horton. I'm like, wait, is that because you're just so used to, I guess the sons of the Hall of Famers and the former NFL players. And I thought I was thinking of Tory Holt though. That's what happened. I was just thinking of another ball. I'm like, man, Marvin Harrison Jr., Tory Holt Jr. I'm like, oh man, we rolling right now. But then I actually thought about it. I'm like, no, his name was Tory Holt, not Tory Horton. But yeah, he's supremely talented, man. And you've seen the finesse, you've seen the instincts for the wide receiver position, the sideline awareness, right? He really put together and strung together a big game. He came to play. But DP, my stock up, man, and they lost the game, right? But I have to give him all his credit, and that is quarterback from South Carolina, Spencer Rattler. And listen, his finishing stat line was this. I'm gonna get this out the way so people that's gonna go box score check and be like, well, how's he stock up, right? His finishing stat line was 22 of 42, 256 yards, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions, right? But I'm going to talk about the first half, DP. The first half, I believe he was 14 of 16, 100 yards and a touchdown. 14 of 16, 100 yards and a touchdown, DP, against Georgia, right? And then we talked about it, right?
By the way.
Yeah. in the rain at Georgia, right? Against Georgia, at Georgia, and he played a masterful half of football. We talked about this on Saturday, DP. We said, listen, we don't expect South Carolina to win. At some point, Georgia's team is going to overwhelm South Carolina's team because there's a talent gap. And that's what happened in the second half. Spencer Rattler was playing with the against a superior team at the end of the day. But I liked what I seen from him. Did he throw the 2 interceptions late? Yes, but in that first half, he was locked in. He was feeding the football the right way, right? He was making great decisions. He was putting the ball in great situations, putting them in great places for the wide receiver. DP, shout out to you. I seen your boy Xavier Leggett. He was on Stock Up last week. That's a big boy that can move. I'm like, okay, I see why he made Stock Up for DP last week, man. The boy can move. But I just thought Spencer Rattler played good football. And I tweeted this out. I said, this is the type of half that NFL scouts needed to see from him, because they want, at Oklahoma, right? They knew, okay, Lincoln Riley, high-powered offense, you could sling the ball all over the yard. But 9 times out of 10, right, when you're a quarterback, where do you get drafted, DP? You usually get drafted to a bad team. You know what I'm saying? And so now you're not in the most advantageous situation. You're in the opposite. And so I think that he did a good job of going against Georgia for the second time, right? Because they played him last year. The second time, like I said, in the first half, he played really good football. They just didn't have enough to muster up the win, right? But he was, it was what? Up 14-3, I think, at half. It was something like that, 14-3, I believe. And I watched him. I thought it was masterful. So that was my stock up players for Spencer Rattler. I'm gonna jump into the film, put some film out there on Twitter, because I think he played really well.
No, he did, man. And for all things considered, like, Georgia couldn't get back there to him because they were getting the ball out of his hand quick in that first half. He was decisive with his reads and his throws. You saw the maturation process where in that first half he was not forcing things. Those 2 late interceptions, I don't really care about them, right? Because the game was basically technically over. You know what I mean? It was just like, and Georgia started blitzing the crap out of him that second half to get themselves back into that game. Because they couldn't, you know what I mean? They just couldn't figure out, they couldn't get back there quick enough in the first.
Yep. I agree. So DP, who do you have? I know you have one other guy. This is Stock Up, and it's called Stock Down.
Yeah, it's Stock Down,
who's the Stock Down player for you?
A guy that I was excited to see this year from Georgia, and it's running back, Kendall Milton, Keith. He in 3 games, you know what I'm saying? 3 games this year, he has not eclipsed 10 carries, right? In a game where the run game was so important for Georgia, because it was I think it's Dijon Edwards, the other running back. He was the guy who got all the carries, had over 100 yards rushing. But when you look at the last, especially even the last 2 weeks against Ball State, 7 for 18, 2.6 yards per carry. Against South Carolina, 7 for 25, 3.6 yards per carry. I just expected this young man to be a more of a fixture in his offense. And I have not seen the things, even when he was when he does get the carries, I haven't been impressed. Edwards is out there with a brace on, and he's stringing together jump cuts and lateral and vertical cuts to evade and be elusive in open field, man. Right now, you're talking about, draft stock, Kendall Milton stock right now for the 2024 NFL draft is down right now.
Yeah, so DP, is this something, and I know you just talked about DeJuan Edwards, Dejon Edwards. Is it fixable or is it an instinct thing? Like, what are you seeing from that perspective? Because I remember Kendall Milton from high school, an extremely talented football player. Like I told you, like he went to Georgia, and I told a kid this on the recruiting. I'm like, man, your skill set reminds me of similar to what a Todd Gurley can be, right? Because you're talking about this guy is 6'1", 230 pounds, runs a 4.44, right? Like he was that complete of a back, can catch the ball out of the backfield, everything. And I will say, I'm surprised to not see it come together, especially at Georgia. So, what is the biggest issue for? Like, is it correct? Is it correctable? Or is it just one of those things like you have it or you don't?
Man, I feel like he has the talent. It's just I do think instinctively I don't see where like the feel of the game. You know what I mean? The spatial awareness, knowing the peripheral vision, knowing where bodies are, where defenders are coming from to make those quick moves and cuts and jab steps and things. So it's just hard. It's just hard, man, because I think he right now he might be more suited in just a downhill, being an alley runner, and giving them a lane than somebody has to create on his own.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, look, let's keep rolling, man. We have our last segment of the day, and we're talking game balls. Like you said, we get to be the coach. We jump into the locker room. We're handing the game off to the performer of the week that we feel like resulted in the win. So coming up next, the game ball segment.
Snap into the action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, guys, new customers can get $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a bet of $5. Let me repeat myself. If you bet $5, $5, new customers, brand new to the site, can get $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. It does not matter. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time or place to get in on all the action. The app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over unders, and so much more, guys. Money line, all of it. Okay. So all you need to do is visit fanduel.com/locked on and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. Coach K and Coach DP, it's time to give out the game balls, man. Keith, we talked about them earlier. For me, my game ball goes right back to Colorado. Shedeur Sanders, 38 of 47, 348, four passing touchdowns, and just the mental toughness, the poise, the control. Never. And I'm going to point out when that cheap shot was made, right, to Travis Hunter on the left sideline. That was I don't know what targeting means in college football no more. That was clearly targeting. You know what I mean? That's an ejectable type of play because the ball was not even catchable. It wasn't in the frame, and the guy still hit him and rib shot him. So Travis Hunter's out for a couple of weeks. His quarterback was the only person that ran down and got into the guy's face, and that was Shedeur Sanders. He went down there and he let him know. And it felt like when he talked about Brady and how Brady's his mentor and they text and everything, I'll never forget. It was I think it was my name might have been Antoine. He played for the Steelers. I remember him in the media. This was like maybe about a decade ago. He talked trash leading up to their game versus the Patriots, and Tom Brady targeted this guy for the entire game. He might have given up all 300 yards that Tom Brady threw for. Like he literally targeted him all game, and when he went to him, he got in his face and let him know, I'm like that. This is your fault, right? And it was that same type of thing because that same drive, I think Shedeur Sanders drilled a in-breaker for a post for a touchdown where that safety who made the shot on Travis Hunter couldn't get back there, man. The poise, everything that he brings, ball placement, accuracy, the mental part of the game that, just the mental makeup, man, the game ball got to go to Shedeur. Down 8, on your own 2, he says Brady mode, goes down, scores the 8, wins in overtime. Shout out to Shedeur Sanders.
I like it. I mean, and it's obviously well-deserving. DP, you know me, man. I'm an SEC guy. So I'm going to SEC performance, and I'm going to give it to 2 guys. I'm going to Florida. I'm going to Gainesville. I'm going to the Swamp. They had a matchup with number 14, number 11 Tennessee,
11?
number 11 Tennessee. And let's just say Coach Billy Napier needed this one. He needed this win, and they got the win. They got it in dominant fashion. They got it in a physical fashion, DP. And I have to give the game ball to two running backs. One, they're both transfers, and would you know it? They both from Louisiana, DP. That's why we have so much talent in this state. Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne, the little brother of Travis Etienne, man. And listen, I'm gonna read the stats real quick. Trevor Etienne. I almost confused myself just now. Trevor Etienne went 23 attempts, 172 yards and a touchdown. Montrell, he went 12 attempts, 23 yards and a touchdown. But when you watch the game, it was the mentality that they ran with. Right? They set the tone. Graham Mertz, I think he threw for under 200 yards, right? They set the tone in this game, and they carried the Florida Gators to a win, right? And you almost, what you seen with DP, or what I felt like I seen, was the birth of an offensive identity. And you talked about, Coach Napier on here, and how things seem out of sync. It seems like, okay, we found something. Let's roll with that. And what we found was this running game. We start the running game and then play everything else off of that. Establish the run first and then figure out everything else. The defensive secondary, they played pretty well right against this Tennessee offense. They dialed up some pressure. They got after, but my game balls are definitely going to Trevor Etienne and Montrell Johnson just for setting the tone, man, being physical from the running back position and setting the tone for this entire team.
Two talented running backs that bring is when you playing that Florida offense. It was like that last year too. It's a hard hat, lunch pail type of game when you're dealing with that offense, because they're going to run the ball, and those two running backs run hard. And Trevor, and I've said this, I said it last year when he was a freshman or whatever at Florida. I think he's better than his brother. You know what I mean? Like I truly do.
They're very different stylistically,
very different,
like from build and everything. Like Travis, what is 5'11", 200 pounds. He's a strider, straight line sprinter type, and then Trevor is he gonna put his foot in the ground, do different things, lateral cuts, jump cuts, things like that. And he's also built different. He's probably 5'8", 5'9", 210, right? Like just a totally different build than what Travis is.
No, 100%. I just think they did this run game. They're so tough, man. Like it's so physical. He's 5'9", like 205, 210. Yeah. So you see it, the quads, the compact build, like he's low center of gravity. And he got the speed of his brother too. He still got that speed to go along with it, man. So I like that you gave both of those running backs their just due, because if this offense is going to have success, it's going to be on the backs of Trevor Etienne. I almost call him Travis too. Trevor Etienne and Montrell Johnson. But Keith, that's our show, man.
Wait, real quick, before we wrap up, DP, I got to give a shout out to one person. And running back, the freshman, Caleb Jackson.
Bro,
that he hit the defender. He hit him. And I was like, this is bad. And DP, it instantly reminded me of Leonard Fournette against Ole Miss. You remember that? And I was at that game, and you physically felt like the defender bounced off the ground. Like he hit him with so much impact that the defender body bounced off of the ground and bounced back up. That was the same thing with Caleb Jackson. You tweeted out, DP, you said, well, this guy's the absolute unit, tank, the whole thing, building, whatever you want to call him. I can't wait till they give this guy the rock some more, but I wanted to give him a shout out. And this is not till he's a freshman, right? So we're talking about 2026 NFL draft. But if you haven't seen it, definitely go check that highlight out because it was crazy. But DP, I'm going to go ahead and do it. We're going to wrap up this show, man. That was fun. I just had to get a shout out to the running back, man.
Sure.
But that was a good show, man. That was a Monday morning. We started our week off, right, man? We talking about positive vibes, good energy, man. Like we say, football is rocking and rolling, man. Y'all make sure to tap in with us. You know where to find me. You know where to talk to me at. You'll find me on Twitter at the talent code DP. Damian Parsons, you can find him at DP_NFL. Like we always say, man, talk to us because we talk back. And shout out to our everydayers for tapping in with us, man. We appreciate y'all. We are 3 weeks into this thing, heading on to week 4. So make sure y'all stay tapped in because we are here the entire draft process, the whole thing.
Now, listen, go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Hit the bell notification so you're notified when anytime we drop content. Thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. And like he said, shout out to our everydayers, man. On tomorrow, we'll be back talking NFL rookie report, game ball for the NFL week 2. All of that's tomorrow. Let's see who performs. Let's see who doesn't. We'll have all those discussions tomorrow on Tuesday's show, Tuesday morning. So tap into that. Like he said, follow us on Twitter. And as always, talk to us because we do talk back. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.